Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the Week 15 edition of the Sunday Sideline Report here on the Sports Insanity Network YouTube page. I am Mike Rifkin. Hope everyone is doing well. We are T-minus 10 days away from Christmas. So hopefully everyone's getting their shopping done. But more importantly, today's a day to kick back, relax, and enjoy some football. We're going to go through clinching scenarios today. I definitely want to talk some Bill Belichick to North Carolina. I'm going to actually start with that in a minute. But I do want to start with this. Hall of Fame receiver and current ESPN analyst Randy Moss announced earlier this week he is battling cancer. We wish Randy all the best. When you think of the greatest receivers of all time and you don't mention Randy Moss's name, we're going to have a little bit of an argument because Randy Moss was the first, in my opinion, and this is strictly of age here, Randy Moss was the first athletic freak at the receiver position that I ever saw. So our thoughts and prayers are with Randy and his family. Hopefully, he can get back to TV sooner rather than later. So that's that thought. Once again, our thoughts are with Randy Moss and his family as he battles cancer. So, week 15, we are here. And we got a lot to dive into. Like I said before, I'm going to start with this Bill Belichick stuff. If you've been living under, I don't want to say under a rock because I hate that expression. If you haven't heard, Bill Belichick is returning to coaching next season, but he's not returning to coach in the National Football League. He's going Rodney Dangerfield. He's going back to school. He's going to be the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels next year. I got a lot of thoughts on this one. I think it's a 3-year contract. Let me rephrase it. I think it's from what I've read, and I could totally misinterpret it. It's 5 years, but only the first 3 are guaranteed. So Belichick goes to North Carolina, and we got a lot to go through on this one. I will say this, according to Ian Rappaport yesterday, and he reiterated it again today on NFL Network. Bill Belichick did touch base with Mike Tannenbaum of the Jets, or let me rephrase that, who's helping the Jets conduct both their coach and GM search. So let's start with that. So Belichick's going. He contacted the Jets about potentially hopping into their or being their guy. Now, how true or false that is, listen, I'm not going to doubt Ian Rappaport's reporting skills. Ian Rappaport is one of the best in the game. So I do think it's a little weird because Belichick had been dunking on the Jets, saying some stuff, but you know what? It is what it is. I guess if you wanted the opportunity, he didn't want to wait. So I gotta give him that. He didn't want to wait. I don't think he lasts the contract in North Carolina because I think eventually he's going to want Don Shula's wins record, and he's only 15 away, I believe. I think he's waiting for the one job. I said it on this week's edition of the Wishbone Shotgun. Say it here. I think there's one job he's waiting for. And I think the one job he's waiting for is the Giant job. Think about it. He came up with Bill Parcells as the defensive coordinator, I believe in '86. But anyway, he was a defensive guy. He came up through the Giants organization. I think he's always kind of considered that the dream job. But I believe also with what John Mara said earlier this year. John Mara said essentially, hey, look, I trust Brian Dable and Joe Shane to get out of this issue that we have. So I'm going to keep riding. I'm going to ride them at least for one more year. So right now that is in a spot where, despite the Giants, let's call for lack of a better term, flaws. The Giants are very flawed. They're going to give Dable and Shane one more year. Do I agree with it necessarily? Do I agree with Dable and Shane coming back next year? Yes and no. You could sway me either way. If they're coming back, awesome. If they're not coming back, you better get the hires right. Like, that's where I'm at on the Giants for this reason. I think what Dable and Shane inherited was a mess. And they have tried a lot of different things. And the worst thing to happen to this franchise, and it's really weird, was winning 11 games 2 years ago. Worst thing to ever happen to them. Because then they had to commit to Daniel Jones. And they kind of had to go around different things on this roster. And it just hasn't worked. So listen. But back to Belichick, I think this is the job. We could talk about the openings that there'll be this off season, and there's going to be quite a handful. I think Tom Pelissero said on the Rich Eisen show a couple of weeks ago, he thinks up to 9, and we know right now of 3, the Jets, the Saints. Why do I continually blank on the third team? Anyway, it's gonna be you have the Bears. I don't know why Eberflus. I forgot about the clock. So here's the deal. So he think Pelissero set up to 9. We could debate what jobs at a different frame. But I kind of find it interesting that Belichick just jumped at the idea of college. I really do. I'm very curious to see what happens next. I still think listen. I just said it. I don't think he completes the contract. I think at some point he's the coach of the Giants. I really believe that. Now the question is going to be: is he going to get full autonomy? What happens from there? I don't know. I'm going to be very intrigued by watching Bill Belichick on a college sideline next year. And I am for sure. This is just me guessing. There's a part of me that just wonders, hey, if I bring my son in and I'm going to have him be the DC, if I do go back to the NFL, I want you to promote him to be the head coach. And he may not want it. Steve Belichick may not want to be the head coach. I don't know. Because how do you want? Why would you want to follow? Why would you want to follow the greatest of all time's footsteps? Again, that's just me, but I don't know. So Bill Belichick goes to North Carolina, and a shocking move, in my opinion. Because I really thought he was going to be back in the National Football League next year, um, with a couple of different teams. I thought there were a couple of different options. The Raiders would have been an option. The relationship with Tom Brady. Um, there had been rumors about the Jags. We don't even know if Doug Peterson's fired yet. We're all presuming on that one. And like I said, I still think he winds up back in the league at some point with the Giants. So that's that on Bill Belichick. And so we'll see what happens with North Carolina next year. I think they went 6-6 this year. Mac Brown got the can. So we'll see what happens. All right. So there's another piece of information I kind of want to hit on. Again, Tom Pelissero reported this, and this morning it was brought up on NFL Network. So Monday Night Football, Bengals Cowboys. There was a missed face mask again on Joe Burrow, and it's getting to the point now where people are talking about reviewing penalties. Now there's twofold here. Now Walt Anderson, who used to be the head of officiating, said this morning they couldn't tell if there was a full grasp of the face mask or not. I would actually listen. This could just be me, but on a play like that, this is where the 5 yard face mask kind of works. If you remember back in the day, there were two face masks, a little grab and it was 5 yards, and then the tug and person was a personal foul, 15 yarder. Um, if you notice, missed face masks and the Bengals have had a theme this year, and primetime games. If you want to go back to the Vikings Rams game, that Thursday nighter, where Sam Darnold got face masked and there was no call. So, look, I'll say this. I don't love the idea of reviewing penalties. We tried it with pass interference. I don't think it worked. I think what we've got to do, I think what the league has to do, I shouldn't say we, I think what the league's got to do, I think the league's got to rewrite a lot of these penalties and tell the officials, listen, this is what we're going on. Because today, listen, I got to be honest with you. I'm not here for the 9 penalties on each team. I don't need to know how many. I don't need to know if I remember the official's name throughout the game, I'm done. I don't care. It means they're throwing the flag too much. And I got to be honest with you. As much as I love football, these guys make it draining because they start to make the game about themselves. And I think if we start reviewing penalties, you're going to get what I think we get a lot of in Major League Baseball, which is call on the field. If it's too close, we're not overturning it. And it's kind of similar. And by the way, what's with, New York can respot the ball, New York can do this, that. They got the assistants. Why can't the assistants help them throw the flag? I, I don't know. NFL officiating has been dreadful this year. And it continues. And by the way, if we get one of these bull jive calls and it ends the Super Bowl, we're going to have a real conversation, people. Remember, people were upset a couple of years ago on the James Bradbury hold. Whether you liked it or not, it was hold. But again, digress. The officials just brutal. All right, so let's dive on in. We do have some clinching scenarios here in week 15. Remember, the Chiefs and the Bills have already won their respective divisions. The Chiefs won last week on that off the upright and in situation. So here is who could clinch this week. The Houston Texans can win the AFC South with a win today over the Dolphins, plus a Colts loss over the Broncos. Houston's not played great recently. They've I think it's 3 of 4 they've dropped. CJ Stroud has not looked as invincible as he did last year. Going up against a Dolphin team that needs the game. We'll get into it in a little bit. The Pittsburgh Steelers can make the playoffs. They clinch a playoff berth today with a win or a tie against the Eagles or losses by the Dolphins and Colts. In the NFC, both the Lions and Eagles have clinched. The Green Bay Packers can clinch a playoff berth with a win tonight over the Seattle Seahawks. You know something funky is going to happen there because something funky always happens when the Packers and Seahawks play in Seattle. So the Packers get in with a win, a Falcons loss. Actually, no, they won't because the Rams and Niners did not tie. So I guess the Packers will not get it. The Vikings could get in with a win tomorrow night. So the Vikings beat the Bears tomorrow night. They are in the playoffs. And the Philadelphia Eagles, while they're in the playoffs, they can win the NFC East with a win and a Washington loss in New Orleans. So those are your clinching scenarios for week 15. And like I said, we have week 15 start on Thursday night, which saw the Los Angeles Rams of St. Louis defeat the San Francisco 49ers by a score of 12-6. And what was an epic game. Let me tell you something. It was epic. It was great stuff. The Rams 4 field goals. Matthew Stafford was 16 of 27, 160 yards. Kyron Williams went over 100 yards rushing. Puka Nacua 7 catches, 97 yards. Cooper Kupp, nothing in this game. Goose egg for goose egg. Brock Purdy 14 of 31, 142 yards and a pick. Isaac Guerrero 16 carries, 57 yards. The rookie making his first start of the year. Jordan Mason's done for the year. McCaffrey's done for the year. And George Kittle, 4 catches, 61 yards. Before I dive into the game itself, I want to talk about the situation that took place during the game where 49ers linebacker Devondre Campbell refused to enter the game. He then went into the locker room during the third quarter and just left, reminiscent of Vontae Davis retiring at halftime, if you remember that. This is insane to me. Unless something was going on, I don't understand what happened. Devondre Campbell, who's been a starter most of the year, got moved into a backup role because Dre Greenlaw was activated off of injured reserve. And I guess that hurt his feelings. You've got no idea. Then if you listen to some of the Niners post game comments, George Kittle had some stuff to say. Charvarius Ward had some stuff to say. They were not too pleased. And look, stuff like this gets around the league. Devondre Campbell may have just played his last game in the National Football League. And look, I'm not one to judge. I don't know what's going on in his life that made him decide that. I don't know. But man, to leave your teammates high and dry like that is not a good look. It is not a good look at all. So, according to Ian Rappaport. He'll be placed on waivers, I guess, tomorrow, but he will never play for the Niners again. So that's that. All right. I want to start this part with talking a little bit about. I want to start this with the Rams, because the Rams are now 8-6 on the season, and they kind of control their own destiny here in the NFC West. With 3 games left, their 3 games are the Jets next week, and then they host both the Cardinals and the Seahawks to close out the year. So that is massive for the Rams. They get 2 home games in the division and the Jets. So with this team, with Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay, they're getting hot at the right time. Nobody is going to want to see them in January. You think Philadelphia wants to see Detroit? Philadelphia. You think Philadelphia wants to see the Rams? You think Detroit wants to see the Rams after what the Rams did to them, almost did to them last year in the playoffs, and then what they almost did to them what they did to them in week 1? The Rams and Lions went to overtime in week 1. The Lions technically could have started the season 0-2. Look, this is a team, they're dangerous. They run the ball really well. We know how great Matthew Stafford is. Nakua and Kupp are dynamic. Add in what they get out of Tutu Atwell and Demarcus Robinson. And then this young defense that has no business being as good as it's been. It really doesn't. They're young, they're inexperienced, but damn, they're good. With Jared Verse, Fisk, Cameron Kitchens, who made some big plays for them in the secondary all year long. This team there's something special about this Rams team. And it's not just if they get into the playoffs. Argument's sake, if you go back, if they had Kupp and Nakua earlier in this year, they wouldn't have to be battling. They would have ran away with the NFC West. That's what I think of the Rams. They are that good. And I got to tell you, I love McVay. I love Stafford. I don't want to see them in January if I'm another team. I want to see them in January as a spoiled fan. But it's, again, a whole nother conversation. This is a dangerous, dangerous team. And they are playing extremely well. And again, their last 3 games at the Jets, and then the Cardinals and Seahawks both at home. And by the way, just remember, okay, they lost to the Cardinals in Arizona, got blown out, but they did win in Seattle. So they do own that tiebreaker. So as for the Niners, it is, let's be, it's, the Niners season's done. And the Niners will, in my opinion, they'll end the season as the biggest disappointment in football, but I can't even call them a disappointment with all the injuries. Just give me a second. Their remaining schedule is next week. They'll play the Dolphins, and then their last 2, the Lions go to San Francisco, and then they end at the Cardinals. The injuries. Look, and I get it. There are going to be people who are going to say that's a major excuse. Look at the players. McCaffrey, most of the year out. Brandon Ayuk got hurt how many games into the year? Kittle's missed a game or two. Debo missed a game or two. Brock Purdy missed a game or two. Trent Williams has missed some games. Defensively, Nick Bosa. Hargrave got hurt early in the year. Fred Warner's playing with a broken ankle. The safety, Halafunga, he's been hurt. I really hope I said that name right. If I didn't, I apologize. But this team's been so banged up. And I don't want to say this is a good thing for them because it's not a good thing missing the playoffs because they're going to have a really interesting dilemma this offseason. But it might be the best thing for them to miss the playoffs. It gets some of those guys some big time rest that they're going to need going into next year. So I just said there's a massive decision to be made. I think there's two of them in San Francisco. Neither one has to do with Kyle Shanahan. If I see one more person online saying fire Shanahan or they should trade Shanahan maybe to Chicago, you're out of your ever loving mind. I'm not trading Kyle Shanahan. I'm not firing Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan doesn't deserve to be fired. Oh, and the Jimmy Garoppolo's brother who videotaped something, zoomed in on Shanahan and said offensive genius. Dude, your brother's not even playing at the moment. He's backing up Matt Stafford. So calm down. So the two decisions are going to be this in San Francisco. What do I do with Brock Purdy? And what am I going to do with Deebo Samuel? Start with Deebo. Deebo wanted the ball more. Deebo had some crucial drops in this one. And that's been a problem. And if you go back to last year, Brandon Ayuk kind of took over as the number one receiver on this football team. Making big plays, red zone threat. Ayuk was that guy. Now, part of that could have been a contract year. Part of that could have been a lot of different things. But Deebo's fallen further on the chart for me because, well, one, you're going to have McCaffrey again. Hopefully you have McCaffrey healthy next year. Kittle, Ayuk, and Ricky Pearsall, the rookie out of Florida, he's had some nice moments this year. So that kind of puts Deebo on an island. And let me be brutally honest with you. I think you could get probably a second round pick out of Deebo Samuel. Now, am I maybe overhyping Deebo Samuel? Maybe, but I think there's a team or two that'll be desperate enough to do it. And who knows? Maybe you get multiple draft picks for Deebo Samuel. And then your next question is, well, Mike, who's going to have the interest in Deebo Samuel? Well, thanks for asking. I think there's a few teams. Carolina, I think, makes a ton of sense right now, especially with who knows what happens with Adam Thielen. They've got some young guys on that team. Jatavion Sanders, the tight end. Jonathan Brooks, who just retore his ACL, man. That dude cannot catch a break. So hopefully he gets better. But Chuba Hubbard, they can definitely use another weapon. Xavier Legette, who should have caught that pass last week again. Whole nother conversation. That's a place that makes sense. The Raiders, I think, makes sense. Pair Deebo with Brock Bowers and Mayer and Jacoby Myers. They really need a quarterback, so they're going to have to figure that out. Maybe it's the Raiders. Maybe it's a team we don't see coming. There's always one kind of surprise team. I don't think New England. I don't think New England really fits the bill. I think they need to focus more on a down the field guy. We'll stretch it for them. Um, I don't think the Giants should trade any draft assets for a guy like Debo. Again, not knocking Debo. I just think the Giants need too much help. Maybe it's a team like Washington. Hey, we got a we got a quarterback on a rookie contract. We got a running back on a rookie deal. Let's push the tables in. Let's push the chips in and go get Debo Samuel. I think Washington's got potential there. Um, I would say maybe Cleveland. I don't think I don't know how highly involved Cleveland would be. I maybe listen, if there's a place I would want to go, it'd be Denver. Sean Payton, we know how smart he is. He'd find a way to get Debo the ball. But right now, I would lean Carolina or the Raiders. Excuse me. And by the way, the rest I'm just spitballing. So if you're listening and you got an idea, comment, let me know. If you tune in later, let me know. You can always comment on these things. So the other question is Brock Purdy. What do you do there? I think Brock Purdy's proven himself to be the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. I think there's one caveat, but Brock Purdy would remain as the backup. And that would be is if the Niners were to be the team to bring in Aaron Rodgers. And I say that because not that I like Aaron more than I like Brock Purdy. It's just who do you think gives you the better chance to win the Super Bowl? Aaron Rodgers, Brock Purdy. Now, you may divide the locker room that way, but I don't see anyone else being a significant upgrade. This isn't Tom Brady leaving New England for the Bucks. This would be 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers coming in for you. I think I would take my chances with Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy, to a degree, has. I don't. I think he's put himself in the conversation as a top 15 quarterback in the league. And people argue, oh, it's the system. He's a system. Well, if you're not firing Kyle Shanahan, why would you get rid of Brock Purdy? I never understand the argument of system guy. If you keep the same guy, then why wouldn't you keep the guy who runs the system well? But do I think Brock Purdy should make the most money of any quarterback? No. But I also don't think Dak Prescott should be making the most money of any quarterback in the league. So you're going to have to find a happy medium here. And this is where John Lynch is going to have to make his money. Figuring this out. So we'll see what happens there. The Niners season basically done. The Rams go to 8-6. They've got 3 very winnable games to end the year. 2 in the division, both at home. So the NFC West is in the Rams' hands. All right, so let's dive on in on today's slate. Spoke about before, the Texans with a win today win the AFC South. They host the Dolphins, who are still alive in the wild card race. Which, man, with a win today and a Bronco loss to the Colts, Dolphins would be a game behind Denver. So there is hope there, Dolphin fans. The Dolphins have never won in Houston. They are 0-5 all time. They've always struggled with the Texans. I still remember the Texans' first game as a franchise was in Miami, and they beat the Dolphins pretty good. So, look, here's the thing. For the Dolphins to win this game, Tua has to continue being masterful. The trio that is Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and Johnny Smith have to continue to be on their game. And last week was the first game all year where Waddle and Hill were both tremendous. And part of that was because Tua was healthy. But another part of that was, look, they're good. They are very good. And they got them both going early. That's what they're going to have to do. Get your playmakers the ball early. Get them engaged. So that's key. I think the other thing is if Anthony Weaver could get this defense that's played really well too up in CJ Stroud's face. CJ Stroud's made mistakes this year. He's throwing picks, he's taking sacks. The Dolphin defense has played very well for the most part. If they can get up in CJ Stroud's face, that's going to be beneficial. Now, here's the other thing. They're going to have to stop Joe Mixon, who's been really good this year. If they can stop Mixon, make the Texans one-dimensional offensively, I'm going to presume Jalen Ramsey's one-on-one with Nico Collins most of the game. Although I think Kendall Fuller might be a little bigger. I think that's how they're going to go. The Dolphins got a shot in this one. Houston's coming off the bye week, but before that, they had not played great. They beat Jacksonville, but they let Jacksonville back into it. They did a lot of different. They have not played great. Let's see what else have they done. Sorry about this. They lost to the Titans and the Lions and the Jets. And they beat the Cowboys, which, no offense to the old ops guy, it doesn't count. Cooper Rush was at quarterback. Speaking of which, I don't know if you caught this one. The Panthers are favored today over the Cowboys. The Panthers are favored. Which is shocking to me. I know the Panthers have played really well. Shouldn't say really. Panthers have played well recently. By the way, kudos to Bryce Young. He's come back from that benching, and he's played outstanding. So kudos to him. But the Panthers are favored by, what is it, 3? Yep, 3 on the dot. So there's that. We got the Bengals and the Titans. Bengals, like the Dolphins, looking to keep their playoff hopes alive. They're going to run into a former friend, Brian Callahan, who used to be the offensive coordinator in Cincinnati. He's now the coach of Tennessee. This is one look. You know what Joe Burrow's going to do. He's been phenomenal all year. And if the Bengals were better, Joe Burrow would be in the MVP conversation. It's about the Bengal defense. You have to make plays against Will Levis because Will Levis is prone to mistakes. Literally, he is prone to making mistakes. So that's on the Bengals defense. Make some plays. We got the Chiefs and the Browns in a big one. Well, not really a big one, but the Chiefs looking to go to 13-1. Look, here's my thing on Kansas City. I'm sick and I am tired of people saying They're not that good. They're not blowing people out. Buffalo's crushing people. Baltimore crushes people. I don't care. Good teams find ways to win. Well, I love the moniker when I was younger of good teams find ways to win and bad teams find ways to lose. Now all of a sudden it's because Kansas City, it's they gotta blow people out. We're moving the goalposts because we're sick and tired of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid winning. You know what? You don't like it? Go beat them. Go beat them. They're 13-1. Could they be 12-2? Sure. They could have lost the Raven game week 1. They didn't. They could have lost to Denver. Excuse me. They didn't. They find ways to win. That's the mark of a great team. And Cleveland, I'm sorry, Cleveland. You have had an awful year. Awful, awful year. You know, and I'm not going to talk Ravens Giants. I'm going to get into the 4 o'clock game. Actually, you know what? I'm going to wait on 4 o'clocks. Yeah, I'm going to wait on the 4 o'clocks because I'm going to jump to Packers Seahawks. Look, Packers Seahawks. We know when these two teams play, especially in Seattle, weird things happen. Whether it is the onside kick, the fail Mary, whatever happens, something weird always goes down between the Packers and the Seahawks. This is a game that's going to come down to 2 people. This game comes down to Jordan Love and Geno Smith. Which one avoids the big mistake? They are both prone to the mistake. They've both made a ton of mistakes this year, turning it over, taking sacks. Whichever one can avoid it, because both defenses have been pretty good for the most part. That team's going to win. Now, if Kenneth Walker's out, that puts a lot more pressure on Geno. And Josh Jacobs, who's had a really great year for the Packers, he's going to keep going. But we'll see what happens there. But that is a very intriguing Sunday night game. 2 pretty well positioned playoff teams at the moment. All right, let's start. There's 3 4 o'clock games that I really want to talk about. I'm sorry, 4, and then there's Patriots Cardinals. Not knocking the Patriots and the Cardinals. It just doesn't have the implications of the others. So I'm going to start with the Bucks and the Chargers. The Chargers are playing outstanding football. Probably should have won that game last week against Kansas City. The question on everybody's mind is going to be what's the deal with Herbert and his ankle. If Herbert's 100%, big time. They need Ladd McConkey today. He's going to be a game time decision as well, battling multiple ailments. So, this is a game for the Chargers where Herbert's going to have to be really good. Other side of the ball, Baker Mayfield's starting to struggle. The interceptions are increasing. Mistakes are increasing. Now, I think part of that is the injuries. Godwin, Mike Evans. I know he's banged up, but he's still out there. But if you're doubling Mike Evans, you need other guys to contribute. Kate Otton's had a nice year, tight end. And they're finding something running the ball with Bucky Irving and Rachaad White. These 2 guys are playing really well right now. So Tampa really wants to run the ball and set up play action. The Chargers, we know what they want to do with Harbaugh. They want to punch you in the mouth with Gus Edwards. So there's that. Then we get the Colts and the Broncos, and this one has massive implications. Massive implications. AFC wildcard race. Colts in the hunt. They're a game behind Denver, or 2 games behind Denver. Yeah, they're 2 games behind Denver. So a win here for Indy, you're a game out. And you would have the tiebreaker over Denver, with your last 3 games being I'm sorry, your last 2 games being the Titans and the Jaguars. No, 3. Titans, Jaguars, Giants are the Colts' last 3 games. And if you're Denver with a win, you kind of not just eliminate the Colts, but you solidify yourself and prep for your last 3 games of the year, which are the Chargers, the Bengals, and the Chiefs. 2 of those 3 games are on the road. So Bo Nix has been sensational this year. Has he caught up to Jaden Daniels for Offensive Rookie of the Year? You could certainly make that argument. Cortland Sutton is legit. They got a plethora of running backs that they like to use, including Javonte Williams. But this game's going to be won by the Bronco defense. If they can force Anthony Richardson into making mistakes, and he's made some, the Bronco defense is the key to this game. Listen, I think Anthony Richardson, he's like Bryce Young, he's played well since he got benched. But at the same time, he's prone to it. This is a team in Indianapolis that does not have in my opinion, a real number 1 receiver. They will have Jonathan Taylor, so they're going to want to run the ball. Maybe they're going to utilize some screens with Jonathan Taylor. Zone read's going to be huge with Richardson's legs. Very intrigued by that little chess match of Shane Steichen against Vance Joseph. See what happens there. But this game, huge implications in the AFC wildcard situation. And 2 teams riding high on high horses. Then we got the Battle of Pennsylvania with the Steelers and the Eagles. No George Pickens, it looks like, again today for Pittsburgh. And I'm going to wonder something about Pittsburgh today. I wonder if this starts their trajectory a little bit downward. They've got 4 games left. At Philly today. At Baltimore on Saturday. Kansas City Christmas Day. And they end the year against the Bengals. They're going to be playing better competition than they've played most of the year. So now we're going to see what Russell Wilson's really made of. And they're going to want to run the ball down Philly's throats, keep that dynamic offense with Hurts and Saquon and Brown and Smith off the field. But this Eagle defense is young. They're fast. They're fun to watch with Jalen Carter, Nakobe Dean, Nolan Smith. How about the young corners, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean? They've been fantastic. And on the other side of the ball, look, there's been a lot made out of this whole situation between A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts. Just focus on football. And by the way, whoever's lined up against Joey Porter today is where I would really go to if I am Jalen Hurts for this reason. Joey Porter gets flagged a lot. Holding, pass interference, illegal contact. That also might be a size mismatch between him and A.J. Brown. So that might be the target today for Jalen Hurts. unless TJ Watt and Cam Hayward can wreck the game, and we know they can. But Jalen Hurts' mobility can be a massive key too. I really like Philly in this one. I do. I like Philly at home. I'm very. I'm. Listen, I haven't been big on the Steelers all year, despite their record. I like Philly at home, and then we got the game of the day: Bills, Lions, Ford Field. Oh baby, this is gonna be good. Big news out of Buffalo is Rasul Douglas has been ruled out. They have a couple of other players in their secondary who may be game time decisions. I think this is a shootout. I know there are people who are like downplay it. It won't be a shootout. I think we're going shootout here. I just after what the Rams did last week to this Bills defense, I think the Lions can do the same similar. They got the two-headed monster at running back with Gibbs and Montgomery. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Tim Patrick's becoming part of the show. Laporta, Jamison Williams. And the Lion offensive line is really good. That's their strength of their team, is that offensive line that looks like it'll have Taylor Decker today. So there's that. And then on the other side of the ball, Josh Allen, who pretty much, in my opinion, cemented himself as the MVP of the league with his performance last week against the Rams. Listen, Khalil Shakir could have a day. Amari Cooper could have a day. The Lions' corners have struggled. And this is, again, Josh Allen's legs could play a massive role here, too. This is going to be a game where the Lions may miss Alex Anzalone and Malcolm Rodriguez, both of which are out. Rodriguez for the year. Anzalone, they were hoping before the playoffs. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Josh Allen's mobility might be a big part in this one. I expect a close game. I expect a shootout. I'm leaning towards Josh Allen and the Bills, but this might be whoever has the ball last. But I'm leaning towards the Bills in this one. As great as Detroit is, and they are great, this is gonna be some kind of matchup. Kick back, put your feet up, and watch this one. Popcorn, whatever floats your boat. That this one should be epic. All right, those are the games. I do want to talk about one other thing because there's I want to talk a little bit about veteran quarterbacks for a minute because last week Derek Carr hurt himself on a hurdle against the Giants. He looks like he's not playing today. Jake Hayner is going to make his first start. Kid out of Fresno State. Derek Carr did buy a suite so Hayner's friends and family could go watch him. Great job by Derek Carr. But it goes into another example of what a team's going to do with a veteran quarterback this offseason. Derek Carr is going to be an interesting one. I got to think his time in New Orleans is up, especially if that team does what I think it should do, and that's go into total rebuild. Yeah, I don't know where Derek Carr plays next year. I just don't think it's in New Orleans. The other guy is Kirk Cousins, who has played, let's just be straight up honest, he's been awful. Yo, my man.
Sorry, I'm late.
No, you're good, brother. You're good. I was just wrapping up with one more thing, but if you want to dive into something, let's go.
Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. Um, I think the Chiefs are overrated, and they're gonna win a close one again because they're the luckiest team on the planet right now. It's insane.
Oh.
And the New York Jets are terrible.
Well, listen, they can't be terrible today. I bet on them. I bet on them to
Well,
win and
can,
cover.
can they beat the crummy Jaguars?
I
I'm
hope
sorry, man.
so. I bet on it.
Mac Jones is the quarterback. I think they've seen enough Mac Jones. Where,
They need to beat Mac Jones.
like, come on, man. Like, God, Jesus, man. I'm sick and tired of this.
You know what? They need your shirt. They need Jesus.
Yeah,
Well, Aaron
everyone.
Rodgers may need another darkness retreat. I don't know.
Well, yeah, no, he can. For all I know, he can stay there. No, screw that. No, I don't want his noise. Um, here, Louis Riddick is going to be one of the GM candidates for the Jets. Uh, last time
Yes,
I
him and
checked,
John Robinson were the two I heard.
yeah, last time I checked, Riddick is a Andy Reid disciple. So let's see. You know,
I also wonder if this is just like Mike Tannenbaum being I'm at ESPN, Lewis is at ESPN. Let me just throw the interview in there.
yeah. Well, at least
And
he,
I
at least,
like Lewis Riddick. I think he does a fantastic job at ESPN.
yeah. Well, I mean, if he wants to stay there, he can stay there. But it's nice to have an actual executive actually look into the job. And,
Mm-hmm.
but whatever. Yeah, that's all I got. I know you gotta leave, but whatever.
No. So I'm actually happier here because I was jumping around here. I was going to end this on veteran quarterback statuses. Like Derek Carr's not going to be back in New Orleans. And then I was just diving into Kirk Cousins' recent play, which has been dreadful.
Yeah.
And people are already clamoring for Michael Penix. So who knows if Cousins is back in Atlanta next year? You tack that on to Rodgers, talked about him earlier, and then Sam Darnold's situation in Minnesota. Very interesting chain of events could happen with a lot of veteran quarterbacks this offseason.
If I'm the Vikings, I know you have McCarthy. I know the plan. There's a succession plan, clear as day. I would keep Darnold. Darnold's having his best
Oh,
year in the
absolutely.
NFL, and it's because of O'Connell, the so-called quarterback guru, right?
Right.
So
The question would be how can you keep him? Is it the franchise tag, or do you hopefully Darnold sees it and says, you know what? I'll sign a 2 to 3 year deal to
yeah,
be the backup.
because having someone like Darnold there, it would be huge for Minnesota. And look, this is no disrespect to the kid because he's hurt, and you obviously didn't want to see that. But I would stick with Darnold until further notice.
Until proven other. That's fair.
And that's just how I see it. Now, of course, if Darnold by accident continues to be the quarterback because he's so damn good, and of course, who would have predicted that? Um, would it
Colin Coward. It took him like 7 years, but he finally got something right.
maybe just maybe you put McCarthy out there? The Jets need a young quarterback. I don't trust this Jordan Travis guy that they have on the squad. And I know they also have that Martinez dude that they played in the preseason, but I don't know what he looks like either.
Yeah.
So, I'm just saying, like, maybe there's already a quarterback that they have and we can use it. But they ain't gonna do that. They're gonna play this McCarthy kid, and look, I saw him play a little bit at U of M. Solid job,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. So we'll have to see what happens with the veteran quarterbacks. But that's something to watch over the next few weeks, how these guys play. Cousins, Carr might be done depending on the severity of the injury to the hand, but just something to watch, everybody. Before we go, just shout out our friend Rudy Campos and Sweep the League.
Mhm.
Check them out every weeknight, usually 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. They do a great job over there. And shout out Travis Hunter winning the Heisman, closest vote since 2009 over Boise State running back Ashton Genty, who is going to wind up being the running back of the Dallas Cowboys because that's what Jerry's going to do. And you know what? Just because I shouted out Jerry, shout out the old ops guy and his back. All right. Dan, you got anything else before we go?
Uh, to be honest, no.
All right.
Uh,
Everyone, enjoy another football Sunday. Christmas shopping can wait until next week. And until then, Dan, I'm Mike. Go to the website, www.sportsinsanitynetwork.com. Blogs, vlogs, planes, trains, and automobiles. Socials, Facebook, Sports Insanity Network, Twitter, S Insanity Real. Personal Twitter is Punmaster Rifkin. I am also on Blue Sky. Why? I don't know. They always say the sky's blue somewhere. But until next week, talk to y'all later. Enjoy another fabulous Sunday of football.
Peace.